if you're seeing this, this is a probably the worst stream I've ever had to deal with. Good lord. Someone save, I don't even know, Twitch, restream, both at once maybe, please. I don't even, it was bad tonight. Somehow both the servers crashed. We're rolling towards, at least it missed too much, but. The fuck? This is 0 kilobits per second. How is that even possible? This is certainly not one. I'll give you that. Obvious. Well, as we at least wait for hopefully everything to get itself back together as we're running finally back at 8,000 bits. I don't know what the issue was on Restream. Restream was not it tonight, but at least we got Twitch running tonight. I don't know what the internet is going on, but maybe you should expose that. I feel bad for myself. Well, let's wait for one man to restart and hopefully get this all back on road. I'm gonna go to a quick tech pause. Well, we are back and finally in business this time, as there might have been some issues getting there, but hopefully it's fixed. I don't know what happened, but we're back and hopefully good to go, as we hopefully have a better half this time. Hopefully we also see a little bit more from F5, as that was not a great start. Not pretty either. Losing 7-0 is not what you want to see, and at least from the defense to start off. Maybe you get to see a little bit more come in, but still it ain't pretty. You see the very basic bans. Once again, Ace is one of the most important attackers for hard breaching, and he's so common to pick. At this point, it's more of banning him because he's convenient, and it just slows down the other team. Time is always a factor, and I think they'll gladly take away that ban. Cade, once again, he's almost essential in basement if you don't want to lose all your hatches within 35 seconds. Ban it as well, as I guess the plan is, what is electricity, folks? With double hard breach, this means this is going to be a no wall fun time. You better bring some, you know, Grim hard breaches, Deimos hard breaches. Striker would certainly work here today, as or Habana as well, but you are not going to have fun with those walls, as it's going to be a slog if you want to get them. At least they'll be easy to get, but you're not going to look forward to them. However, with these bans, it does also mean that there is no longer any type of worry about castle. You get your castles, you get your zombies, which are both two great ops to have, to be entirely fair. It also means that while you might lose the wall on CC very easily, you can still probably play it. You still have your basic ops you need. It's maybe not going to be the normal hold you'd think of, and you'd probably, if there's not any specific thing in the playbook for this sort of situation, I'd maybe, you know, stay away, but otherwise, this is still a very winnable, I think, site here. Hey, glad. It's better on my end. It should be 100-something FPS, but I think Twitch only picks up like 60 frames and 8,000 bitrate, 7,000. We're chilling. At least for today. And then I dropped YouTube because God knows what was wrong with that. I love the restream. It is an amazing convenience. Good Lord, can the server sometimes not do well. Tonight happened to be that night, and also internet was not having it. So we're back to one stream, only one, and this hopefully should be a little bit more smooth for those viewers, for y'all. Looks to be a relatively basic comp, sort of your bread and butter. You see double hard breachers to make up for the fact that, well, getting one wall is going to be slow if you're Maverick, so Habana is going to be the sort of fix in between. To be fair, if you know what you're doing with Habana, it is still very, very viable. You can still get a good amount of walls as long as you have some type of breaching device in this case, which seems to be the sledge. It's still a very, very easy thing to do, and you can do a quick 1-2, gladly do it, and you get wall relatively easily as well. Here you do have to worry about making sure you get the Mira. It shouldn't be too hard, as I don't think we're going to see Yumzy go across. Obsession grabs the first one. This is League, or sorry, excuse me, PC tournaments. We do see the Yings come out. You do see a lot of the pressure come towards that hatch and Logi as the drop does come. You at least have a shotgun to make your move if you want to, but good luck with that, as you're going to have one person sitting in the corner that you might not know of, as Rep literally just sitting there waiting for his moment. We see another one found by Yum, but this one, not going to be an easy one if you don't win it at all, is you might get one with a shotgun, but the second that range is taken on you, it's going to be a pretty hard fight to win, as you have nothing in hand to really do it. You find another one here, but in a 1v3, this is all but over, as you might have a shotgun in hand. You might have at least some hope. It will not be enough, as 7 Days finds their first round of the entirety of the series. Better late than never, I say. Better late than never, as you maybe hope for something a little bit earlier. What in the world? Odd. It's like super out today. Whatever, we're getting there. The lag seems to be very prevalent. I don't really know why. At least that's on my end, I think. So we're good.
Attackers need to locate and defuse.
Overall, 7 Days finally have at least a little bit of life in their team, a little bit more to look at than a very depressing stat pack. You look at those stats for match 1 in You don't need to scream joy if you are a 7 Days fan. If you're F5, you're jumping for joys. You literally could not ask for a better game. On their map pick, you actively went 7-0. Beautiful start for them, but I think they got to show a bit more in the attack, as they do have a much weaker attacking side. They're a great defending team, and they're great when they have that strategy that they can pre-place and plan around. Attack, we haven't seen a lot of greatness around them. They still have certainly a lot of what I'd call good attacks, but I don't know if they're going to stand to the level of 7 Days, where, once again, if we can see them sort of come in their own here, it's very possible we can see them get a 4-2, 3-3 half. And I think that's simply because we just saw a very, very weak attacking half from them in Cafe, that we, you might underestimate them. They're still a great team, I think. That's the best thing to think of. Is it was a bad start, but I think there's still a lot you can work up from here. Slash does find the first pick, as once again, that man is deadly on the entry so far today. That'll be his 5th of the day. Maybe not the player you expected to go 5-0 on the entry, but I mean, you'll be glad to take any player 5-0 on the entry, and I think certainly a situation like this, much needed pick, because you're already getting verticality done, you're already getting damage on other players, you're already starting to apply that pressure to make sure they aren't going to run across. We do see no Grim here, which is a bit of a surprise from F5, as they love to bring it here to try to cut off rotations, cut off mass plays in the site, but a good C4 from Sayer here grabs it, ties those numbers back up. You lose your big player here. You lose that Blackbeard who can genuinely give you the most space. It's going to make it a much harder execute if you're trying to pull anything now. It's not going to be an easy one to pull. It's not going to be an easy one at all. Certainly winnable if you are F5, but you got to watch that time, because that is, once again, I think the all-knowing issue here is this site can take so long to execute, or it can take 5 seconds. There's no in between, and that's the big difference. Is it can be such a very odd site sometimes, where you will see the most statistical anomalies out of Clubhouse, where you can see, one player come in a rush plan work every time, but sometimes it won't. Sometimes you'll see 2 picks go down in a very fast span, as 7 Days take a much needed advantage, hopefully here at 2-0. After starting very, very weak on that Cafe, not even winning a singular round. Looks like they've come back into their own. To be fair, what is their map pick? Or, excuse me, F5's map pick. I mean, Slash, you might be able to pad the stats, but I don't think we're going to see a 1v3 even thrown from a team like this. You might shoot the C4. You might make it a little close here, get a 1v2, but I just don't think the time and the trades are going to work in your favor, but maybe we see it. Maybe we see miracles. Not tonight, as it's finally ended by the Valkyrie. And finally, we see life, true life, and truly a good playing and showing from 7 Days. They've struggled so much on Cafe, and once again, it came down to minute details and them taking too long to execute. On the defense, though, they don't have to worry about that. They can stick to their more set strategy. It's going to be a much, much better start from them. And maybe we see another 7-0. What would that be? If we see 2 7-0s, that would be the greatest random game I've ever seen. You never know. I would certainly doubt it, but I mean, I saw 3 games, or I saw a BO5 series, and every single one went to like 15 rounds. Like 20 rounds, I think, because it's Infinite OT. It's not a pretty start. 7 Days finally have a bit of a second wind after a much needed second wind, as they needed to come into this map strong and say, we're back. We struggled a lot on Cafe, but we're coming into one of our maps. We're coming into, something that they tend to be very strong on. I think it's a bit odd that we do see the Cafe picked, but this is one of their better maps in the map pool. So I will admit it's a bit of an oddity from them that they pick the Cafe, but I mean, you're still on your map pick, or their map pick, and you're still on one of your best maps. I think F5, if they can at least dominate the entries here, they need to have one stat they can truly show above if they want to at least get some rounds here on the attack. If that happens to be the trades, good enough, but you need to have one stat that you can truly say we have locked down. The trades, the entries, I don't care if it's your refrags, but you need to just show something. Show some true domination in the strats, because that's what we saw from the side of F5 last map, and it ran them. Well, you do see at least one pick of the Sens. You can expect, you know, some plan here for maybe a bit of a speed plant or at least something to cover it. As it is, to be fair, actually an op that has risen in the pick rates in T3 in at least my stat pool quite a bit recently. A lot of T3s have started picking it back up, seeing, hey, we can make a lot of use from this. Let's try it out. And you'll see that is actually a very, very common strat, and one that I think can be played well by a lot of teams. You control the pace of a round, you control sort of a bit of a plant, as it's a bit of a better smoke in my opinion. And being able to remotely turn them on and off does actually help quite a bit. You know where it's coming from at this point. You know where the execute is going to. It's not like there's any secret at this point. It's just, can you hold off at all? Slash leads finds one. You're getting damage. You have a good cutoff here if you're Mavericks. You're able to hold a lot of the site here and force them into this very hard area to hold. If you can get one good Grim and bank it back there, this could be a great execute, but you have to get something back there. Speak of the devil, they get it right in the middle. Is holding this site is going to be pretty miserable. However, Yumzy catches at least one, but the Grims are all over him. You can't hold an angle without being safe, but it doesn't matter for him as he finds two, traded out by Z-Man. Numbers go back to a 3v3 with a minute left. Not generally what you'd expect from a person like him to play something so risky, but I think a gladly taken risk at this point. And in a 3v3 with at least good site control and the crosses you want to hold, but Captain Mike's going to take away your nice angle. You lose another body, and in a 2v3 with just less than a minute, you got to be careful. Make that a 1v2, and maybe you find something together here. Maybe you can find a way to isolate a 1v1, isolate some good chance of a fight, and give yourself what could be a very needed round. But I don't think we're going to see 7 Days get it. I think we're going to see them play passive. They're not going to try to swing you. They're going to take what they have and just let it stay. To be fair, it is a great play here. As long as we see the castle finish it here, 7 Days looks stronger than ever. Once again, we're seeing that sometimes the issue is not so much that we haven't seen them perform at this level, it's the consistency. They will consistently go at these crazy, genuinely astonishing halves. 3-0, 4-0, 5-0, and then we'll see them have a miserable other half. This time, at least, you're seeing a lot of fight from 7 Days. You're seeing a lot of great plays on a map that, in my opinion, should have been their map pick. Maybe they wanted that side of defense, which would not surprise me at all. They're willing to let it fall. You know, let them have the map pick, but we get our best side. Not a surprise at all if that was their plan. But you really got to try to relieve this sting and come out strong here, swinging at the gates, if you want to at least try to lessen the impact that 7-0 had. Because let's be real, a 7-0 is never pretty on the scoreboard. You might like a team, you might love a team, but you cannot have a half like that and, you know, come back realistically. Not every game is phase finals. We got at least the streams running relatively fine. I think the big thing to see is, we're going to see F5 take a timeout. 7 Days did not even feel its need to take a timeout after going down 4-0, 5-0, 6-0. I mean, I think you'd at least expect it from F5. They tend to use timeouts more often. But even then, it's still not a constant use for them. Neither of these teams are teams that generally take timeouts too often. It's possible we see it during the middle of the half, which has become a much more increasing strategy. You use that time of the timeout, you use the ban phase, and you can ice a team for around 2 minutes. It's a very strong strategy if you know what you're doing. And it can work against a lot of T3 teams like this, where they struggle with consistency. But let's see what F5 pulls out here and shows in their bag of strats. So again, I think that calm before the storm, every team is just, they want to get their footing in a map before they really try to go 100%. Even shield rushes feel that need where there's always that 10, 15, 20 seconds before they truly get everything set in place. Once all the pieces are set, we can certainly see F5, I think, move fast. This pick, grab a much needed pick and take an advantage that I think that they need to take. They need to show that consistently. Someone does need to stop Slash at this point, as he has been the consistent entry king, and Checky gets put down. Warden holding a pretty strong position here, 7-0 or 6-0 so far. Beautiful start from him, but you got to keep holding it. You got to at least try to alleviate some of this pressure. Because I think standing here might actually cause more issues than not, but with Flores drones coming towards you, you're going to opt to keep aggressing. And this point, it gets absolutely demolished, and good trade. Good 2 here from Z-Man is good improvising, making use of what makes, you know, happen around him and making something happen in this case, which is 2 picks that are much needed. He's still good time on the board. You still have almost a minute 30 here you can work with. Rap's going to grab 1 to at least lower that advantage, but you have your numbers, you have your diffuser still with your main push. There's a lot you can work with here. I think having only 1 Grim is going to limit your options, but that's not saying a lot. There's still a lot you can do here. I think there's still a lot of uniqueness. There's still a good amount of drones here to work with. Sarah grabs at least another, making a 2v2. Makes it a 2v1, excuse me, as he is on fire. With one man in bedroom, he has everything coming towards him, but he's got to play perfect, but a C4 almost finds him damage instead. Got to look both ways. He doesn't know which one is right. Finds one at least, gets himself the 1v1 with Sarah. Both of them 2 and 3. You know where he is at this point. You at least know where he is. You know where the bathroom player is. You know that this is where this fight is going to come from, but it's not going to be an easy one for any means, I don't think. Let's try to go for a prone strat here. It's not going to be a fun fight. You both are about equal in guns. You need to win this fight. Finally, you get a round if you're at 5. 3-1. Much needed, though, as we see finally a much better round. And I think something that, once again, we see a lot of their games, even on Cafe, it came down to small margins. Sometimes, yes, we'll see a breakaway play from someone, but generally these were coming down to 2v1s, 1v1s. We saw them go, obviously, a lot of the ways towards F5, but I don't think that means that 7 Day can't hang. 7 Days has shown the ability to hang at this level. They've shown an ability to at least compete with the top T3 teams, and I think it'd be almost foolish to count them out quite yet.
Attackers need to locate.
We're no haters on anyone. 7 Days have shown, once again, we've seen the potential with them. We've seen so much truly great play from them. If it can all come together, they're easily one of the best teams, I think, in the tournament, but it's just a lot you have to do. But if it all does come together, if they can truly show out, I think that this team is easily a strong competitor for that invitational title. But there's still certainly, I think, a lot of strong teams. It's also quite a more, as you see even people like the team that was probably the most known, Fets, Feed Friends, was actually a quite well-known team. Kaysen was on it, as he has made the move to PC in general. Ugh. Early TK, at least close to, is you do not want to lose damage like that for a player like Yumzy, who's generally going to play in this main stairs position. Means the guy that's going to be in front of it all is now going to be almost one-shottable to what should be a pistol, and almost anything he comes across is now his end, and it doesn't give him any room for error. I think that that damage is already impactful, but seeing a player like him lose it makes it more so. You at least see the melee, but not going to matter. Still finds the pick. And a very early one at that, where they got the pick they wanted. They got rid of the big player playing these main stairs, and now you have not free reign, but certainly I think a lot of movability here. They do finally get Vladimir, but apparently, if I'm not mistaken, no kind of impact trick here. They're just letting the hatch go by, and this might be a bigger issue. At least find the tie to tie back up, but yikes. 7 Days at least have good progression here. They are losing their hatches, but time is being wasted here. It's not like we're seeing them go super early. It's really just how much can they delay what would hope to be the Moto hatch delayed, but instead placed just a second late. Not going to be the time that you need. Problem is you still have the blitz alive. You still have your main players ready for it, which means that this is going to come down to what I'd argue should be a probably 15-10 second execute where it's all going to be decided within that short amount of time. However fast the blitz can take that place, if he can find an early pick. Stream is good. Sweet. Yeah, stream is good overall. Obsession. Madman moves up and finds one. He's going to keep going, though. Venture for what I'd argue is a very risky pick here. As he tries to find the impacts. He gets foot damage. He does get the kill. A triple for him. He's still playing the position. I don't know what kind of aggression opts him to hold it, but a whiff. Such a huge one, too, is F5 could have at least had one pick to try to get the numbers closer together, but instead, you leave a 2v4 with not a lot of time to go. You're looking for a bit of a miracle here. Thinks there's a play up there. He finds it. Z-Man, check. You both find one, but he won't know there's one in the corner. All down to one man here to solve it all. You at least find one. Make it the 1v1, but time is not on your side. He can just hide in the corner, and you would have a good idea of how to finish it. One man, and a lot you got to do. 10 seconds. The swing comes in. Shots on both sides, and somehow, despite the odds, F5 pulled out and still a chance of an even half on the board. Beautiful. I think if you see a team like 7Days go up 3-0 once again, you wouldn't expect that half to have a chance at all of being even. But we can certainly see that still. And I think it's not really a big surprise is once again, 7Days have shown that they can be that high-level team. They can be that top-tier contender in teams like, in competitions like Element, XGS. Most T3 competition, they've shown to be at the top. They've shown that they can handle that. And then the problem is consistency. We've seen them do so well and then immediately after do so bad. And that's the pain. That's the thing that hurts the most if you're a fan of them, is you'll see that they have that level. They have the true potential to be there. They can never pull it out. They can never truly get to the very top. To be fair, it's not anyone can get to the top, so it's not like they're, down in the dumps here. They're still a great team. It's just you could see so much more just along that horizon. That makes those losses hurt so much more. They still have a good chance in this one, I think. If you can get to 3-3 or 4-2 half, it's still very much within reason. Obviously, you'd hope to have a round here stop a bit of momentum that F5 is building. You want to stop what they have now, go into the weaker half, up numbers, work off that, but a 3-3 half is still very manageable, I think. I think the bigger thing is how fast can you figure out F5's kind of weakness? Because there is a weakness in how they play. Their defenses do have gaps, and they do generally have one issue. The ranges, but generally it's that they'll have one roamer, and not always, but sometimes they'll have that roamer stay way too long. And I think if you find just enough right playing on that blitzer on those shields, you can certainly isolate that pick early. I think where they're so willing to stay on the roam, they're willing to die for it, even with no time being given up. But a trade comes out. I've seen quite a few of those today. Is people have been on point. They're not willing to lose that pick, and instead you're going to see both go down in a less anticlimactic blaze of glory. That has been, what, the third trade today? It's only an unexpected amount, but at least keeps these things close. You find one from Yumzy, but running back would probably be the end of him. Instead, he's going to have to stay, hold his aggression. You find damage on his stealth. You do grab the pick. Bodies fly, and in the end, it ends in a 3v2 for 7Days. Still very possible 4-2 half here, all within sight. Just don't want to throw the bodies here. Don't want to throw what could be. Z-Man backs off the last second, save himself from a C4. Good playing, sees that drone hull, sees the shot, gets it, and you know what's coming at you. It's just, can you finish it off? If you can finish the push here, instead it's a 2v1. All you have to do is not throw your bodies, get the trades, and it should be all over. But instead they make it a 1v1, make it as close as you can. You do have the pings, you at least know where he is, but still gotta win the gunfight here, and arguably one of the hardest ones. Instead he drops down, gives the space, and you still gotta pick up the diffuser, and I think he knows that. And the problem with that is now he's gonna be on site on his turf with a min to left. You do at least have one call, and what will be cam, so not a lot lost, and you still have a reasonable amount of utility to work with here. You'd hope for, maybe a couple more drones in your area, but there's still something to work with here. You might not know it, but the Valkyrie cam is there, and it also means he gets pings. He knows he's still over there, and I think the problem is you cannot afford to waste seconds like this. You cannot afford, even if you're getting the red pings, you got to keep going on. Because you're seeing with 35 seconds left with that pipe, that time is going to get very, very slim here. You have to go for the call here, so you at least have some intel, but it's not going to be an easy fight. Instead, he's going to prone on the ground, grab a much-needed round, and stop the momentum at 4-2. I think a lot closer once again than you'd hope for if you are F5. You'd hope for that 3-3 half, but going on to one of their better sides, they're going on to what is generally one of their better maps. Be a lot of hope here. A 2-4 half is very workable, especially with a team like F5, where we can see that they can dominate on the defense so much. This is still very much within reason. I think that these first rounds of the half matter so much between teams. If you can get it's any type of thing to work with here, if you can get that first round, it gives you so much momentum as a team. It gives you that mental boost you really want. You could be G2, you could be anyone you want to be, but those first rounds matter a lot.
Attackers need to locate and defuse bombs.
Lag, please. There we go. Had me scared for a second. Damage from the pipe going out onto Bobbler, which is not the start you want, but overall, bans-wise, I mean, you still have a lot of your big ops here, and I think that these second floor sites are going to be the big thing if you're going to go for. They still have the Bandit. They still have, at minimum, the Mira here and the Asami. That's so much you can work with on these top two. It is going to make basement a hell of a site to fight for, but we've seen a relatively roam-heavy comp from F5, so it would not surprise me if losing the Cade is not as big of a thing as you think. It's all up to how it ends, but I mean, it wouldn't surprise me at all. I think that you can see that a lot of times is F5, despite how they can sometimes have issues with roamers' commitment to the roam, they do have a very strong roaming group. They have the aim, they have the general improvising values they do want, and you'll see that consistently. Excuse me for background noise. We do actually lose the bandit trick here. It's surprising when you don't normally see that, but I think you saw the pressure coming Raptors and opted to just fall off for safety. They don't want to lose that first pick here. They do not want to give anything up. They don't have to. As if they let that execute and if they let the numbers just keep staying at 5v5, it does benefit them. We still have at least some good roamers here. I think that's going to be a big thing to look towards is what is Slash going to do. Is he's still in a position here where he could easily catch 2 or 3 bodies. All just up to how well they hold the crosses. And you see the pre-fire, you see the damage here. Slash is probably going to have to fall off here. It's just... realistically, you didn't really deal with the issue here. Is because he's probably just going to come right back up and keep pestering you later on. He's a very persistent roamer, and that is what makes him, in my opinion, one of the best roamers. Easily the best roamer in the server. Persistence is key sometimes, and in a case like this, you have a good C4 path. This could be a bit of a freebie. The second here, the walk-in, you don't find it from the person you're expecting, but you still get the damage. Turns right back to a 3v3, though as bodies drop out, and big thing to look at is you still have your roamer. He opts to fall back to site for the main push, so I'm not going to see anything crazy. Bubbler sticks himself on the fire to get a much needed kill here to give yourself a gap. Rep finds another, at least some damage, but if you can find 2 picks here, this one is all but over. They're going to hold that back to back. They're going to try to be close and hold the net. It's not going to give Sayer a lot of space here, so you can either try to run through the fire, make something happen, which is what his option is going to be here, but you're making it even worse for yourself as they were very much expecting it, sitting behind the mirror and made it. Suddenly, those numbers are looking all too strong if you are 7 Days. I mean, you're still up one round. You still have a lot you can work with here, but now you get to see what should be actually a very interesting sight to see how it's held, where we can see probably even 2 or 3 roamers here from the side of F5. We've seen them run SSG roams. We've seen them run very basic 1-2 person roams. And I think that's the big thing that you'll see is, in terms of straight execute, dealing with an execute, they're not the best team. F5 are not crazy, but their roam game is generally very strong. They have a good group of people that are great at playing it.
Attackers need to locate and defuse.
They still have some good anchors, but they're a team that I'd say is better when they're away from that site, away from, you know, the bomb. Not a bad thing at all. Is, I mean, not every team is going to be strong in every aspect, and having what I'd argue is 2 or 3 good roamers to constantly have that you can play with is still a big thing. Which should be a very normal castle extension here, because you do not have decades. You're going to try to make up for it. Other things. In this case, it'll be a long roam held, and verticality is... Now what's going to come down to is how long can you hold this roam? As that's going to kind of decide everything. Because the longer you hold that roam, the longer verticality is never truly going to be guaranteed, and those hatches are never going to be truly safe. You can hold quite a few of them from above, so you can't really get onto them too aggressively. Castle at least gets the, or sorry, Legion, excuse me. Confusing super shorties over here. But in terms of how it's going to be held, it's not really anything crazy. But if you can find damage onto some feet, pause. If you can find maybe, you know, even a kill or 2 on this roam, or just some time at all, it would be huge to get them this round win. Well, yes, losing the hatches does not feel great, but there might be some other plans coming on. As you see the diffuser in one hand of Amonte, and they might not know it, but this at least looks to be a plan here. I think once again it's going to come down to what should be the very other side, as utility is seeing a lot of pressure here. You're going to see a lot of this come together. Z-Man does find a big pick here, though. Make that 2 is, once again, you might be able to have a good execute here, but you're going to be crushed in from both sides, as you didn't deal with one, and you lose your secondary shield. You're going to lose a lot of your pressure here, as what could have been a great play just falls apart because you didn't deal with that roam. Once again, I think a team like F5, if you try to ignore it, it will never work out. You have to truly address it, because it'll come back to bite you. You might find one, but instead, F5 proving why you can never not just ignore their roam. It is one of the things I do respect them for, is they're great at demanding attention on the roam. They're great at forcing you to confront it. That takes time. That is generally a very slow process, and it's never fun. But it works, and it does consistently well. Especially with someone like Scopos, where if they get that 1 pick, they get 2 picks, and they feel that they're getting too much pressure, they fall off. I think that gives a team like F5, who's willing to go for those gap plays, so much more flexibility. Because they can go for those without any, you know, worry at all. So run back with their Scopos, and suddenly they're back inside, got 2 picks, and you already waste 45 seconds just getting them out of here, but they can still come back. Obviously, move the shell body still there. I think there's going to be bigger issues with your team, but you can never truly get that pick sometimes, it feels like, with F5, where they're so great at falling off from their own. They're great at forcing these, you know, 10, 15 second executes with your 2 bodies down. That makes it already hard execute on Clubhouse even harder. Especially during that plant where you're going to be down 3 bodies.
Bomb located by attackers.
Possibly even 4 bodies in a case. You don't generally see a team like 7Days execute in a 4v2. They generally would prefer to try to lower those numbers, even if it's risky. Which is, to be fair, in my opinion, a good idea, a good strat, but all up to the team. Some love that planning. See a bit of a crazy play from Checky here, as he's just going to play straight down there. Good on the man for it, but it's not going to be a fun angle to hold, and there'll be a lot of pressure coming towards him if he's not very, very careful. I think it was a smart decision, though, to just abandon the main wall here. I think they know that the Maverick is going to come. They know it's consistently an option for 7 days. They pick it all the time. There's no reason to try to trick a wall that's already going to be lost no matter what. I think it's a great play. It's a guarantee. You'll play the Bandit, so they have to at minimum bring the Maverick. But it's never a guarantee. You know, you can guarantee that one op is picked. You can play it elsewhere. Provide some value. Yum does find the first pick here. Once again, holding these very annoying Maverick holes here, but you do find value. You get the pick you want. Maybe get some damage, and now you can hold across in what should be your main way into sight. A lot of the pressure is going to soon come down to Z-Man. Pick found from Checky. You catch that entry out. Now it's going to all sort of come towards this Raptors, as this has to be the next thing you got to take. But you see a lot of the pressure coming. You see it blocked off at the wrong time, but once again, you still have so much you have to deal with here. Z-Man finds another, and Raptors seems like a fortress that is just not going to be taken here. You have stealth down below causing issues. You have crosses being held from outside if they swing too aggressively. It is never going to be as safe to try to take it here. They can come behind you. They can do almost anything. You have to unextend here if you want to get out. You're stuck in a corner. You at least do find yourself the castle, so numbers are tied back up, but you can no longer escape here. Yumzy's just going to keep playing his numbers, playing the outside annoying wall, and hopefully finding something here, but instead Z-Man finds a big one. I think that too is, I don't know why we're swinging that in a should be ended game here, or ended 5-4. Good impact from the side of Z-Man, and great round from him. Sometimes it's going to come down to the simple things, which is sometimes you're just going to win. You're going to win with your swing. You don't. Not every round has to be this grandier. Always loves ourselves some banter in a game. Who doesn't? Who doesn't love banter? It's always nice. It's always fun. Overall, I mean, I think the entries in almost every single stat has been relatively all around just fine, except for one man as the outlier, who has been easily one of the best players so far in this entirety of the game. 7 traded kills, 3 refrags, 221 match rating. That looks ridiculous. Sorry, 2.21. 1.67 KPR, plus 3 on the trade differential, 100% cost. The man with 15, Z-Man himself. If you're hoping to find yourself a very, very strong execute, suddenly it's going to all be taken away by one man who loves to play as the zombies, loves to play these weird angles, or in this case, but happens to be the Warden with the SMD-12. He's still a great shotgun player, despite his constant use of a zombie. I think that they are very, very glad to stick him on a position like that where he has to play those power positions because he's good at improvising. If something goes wrong, he's always relatively good at fixing it, or at least trying to reduce the damage. What is not a thing you see often is you see Slash double up on the zombies to, what is to be fair, provide quite a bit of safety if you are playing here as a Warden.
Attackers must locate and defuse a bomb.
End of the day, it shouldn't matter much. Oh, that's why the lag was. Yeah, the lag wasn't even on the internet. It was on the fact that I was double streaming. It was on the fact that the graphics were so high I couldn't encode my stream twice. That makes sense. Overall, though, F5, once again, you'll see it every time. They're not going to hold the craziest roam. They're not going to hold the craziest anything. It can be default. You will see them sometimes get more aggressive than the average, but otherwise, everything is very default with them. And so I think that's how they process is they're great at just taking what is a very basic strat and elevating it with their aggression on the roam. In this case, Slash finds a pick in Garage. The aggression from one man finds him a much needed first pick, and a certain movement I will not name, but I guess mental warfare is just as good as physical one. You see the Banas go out. You do at least know where the push is coming from at this point if you are F5. Now I just got to deal with the oncoming assault. I don't know what the Habana is doing. I mean, the EMP was thrown for a reason, I assume, to get the wall, but instead it's not going to be gotten. Not to worry about C4s galore, as hopping in is no longer a fun time. As you might be able to get it here if you are Sayer, but this is going to be a very, very tight one here if you can't even get it. You might just straight up have to kind of give up here or try to go another way, but Yumzy at least finds one. Maybe not in the same position that they expected, but the push on Central. You find another one here if you're just getting stealth. Z-Man gets the trade, though. Make that what is very, very bit an odd push. His Slash finds another while vaulting. And Monty just runs up the main stairs. I don't know what is going on, but apparently aggression got in the water and everyone did something. In a 1v1, it's certainly winnable, but instead Slash puts him down. Match point, excuse me, series point, F5. I don't know what the plan was. You can... Yeah, I don't... Once again, it's those minute things that are going to cause sometimes so much failure. We saw it with Cafe, where a lot of those rounds would come down to 2v1s. They'd come down to these minute details of not holding crosses, not droning fast enough. You know, they're not being too aggressive with the roam clear. They're isolating pick too slow. And it all comes to a front and something like that. You aim and you ADS as a Monty instead of just running up with your shield extended and meleeing. Now it's going to cost you a match point. It's F5, have you on the ropes, up 1-0, and this is now do or die.
Attackers need to locate and defuse bombs.
I mean, I hope 7 Days can pull it together. I hope we can see an overtime in a map 3, but I just don't know what are the odds of that at this point. You don't generally see a team like 7 Days have that big X factor of comebacking. God, coming back. Excuse the mispronunciation. I mean, 7 Days don't generally see... They're not generally a team that can even come back from a lot of things. They're very, very good at when they get the advantage. They hold it well, but when they lose it, they don't normally show as much fight as a team mental. We could certainly see an outlier, as today seems to be filled with them in terms of ideas, plans, and what has been a very statistical, absurd game, as we're seeing some dude drop 16 in a tournament. Excuse me, Invitational. You also don't normally see the same person dropping 16 with 4 refrags, 9 traded kills. Some people would say baiting. I would say this man's trading kills better than 99% of T3 players right now. Hey, first pick found for the way of 7 Days. Maybe not by who was expected, but hey, you'll take what you can find. You'll get rid of your Zami very early, all might add, and it does mean that those regenerative, well, anything is going to be gone now. Surprisingly, not the crazy roam you'd expect. It's not this 12-tiered 4-player roam. Did you have one man, and to be fair, it's certainly one man to worry about. Z-Man, who's looking to possibly drop 20. If we see that prospect, I think we're gonna have bigger issues than just this, but I think once again, Z-Man is fine with playing these aggressive roams and going for these all-or-nothing strats because he feels safe because of the Scopos. That makes him even more scary because you don't really know what's gonna happen. He is, I think, the big X factor in any single round right now as the Scopos. You do see quite a few bodies looming over towards that stock side. Maybe not to go down the hatch, but you can really expect something here. Maybe we see something fun. See 2 Elo mines go out, forcing it to unshield, and you see everything going out. All of it's coming towards an end, and you find the 4v3, make that a 2v3. 7 Days trying to come back to fight here. Bring it back to a 2v2. Z-Man still trying to look for a couple of kills here on a long angle. The swing comes in from... What is with us unshielding at this range? I love a crazy play as much as the next guy, but you have an iron sight, my boy. You are not holding an ACOG in hand. Plant's looking to go down here, all for the cross, but putting a lot of hope onto one man here if you do go for a plant. You need to get this plant down here if you are 7 Days. You really do not want to try to force just a straight free-for-all. If you find the advantage, it's huge here. A 1v2, all you have to do is not swing, as this one should be all but over. Finally, a big round here, but instead it's a 1v1. We've seen this go the way it shouldn't have. You see the... Excuse me. I don't even... We unshield when we could have just stayed shielded, and now we see it all came to an end. Next time, let's not play the Monty. Regroup, because your game ends tonight. F5, dominate. Winning 2-0, 7-1, or sorry, excuse me, 7-0 and 7-4. This game we at least saw probably one of the greatest performances we've seen on any person of F5. 2.26 match rating, 11 and 6 on the trades, 91% cost, 19 kills, 5 refrags, 9 traded kills. The savior for this team so far, Z-Man himself. But that'll be all for tonight, as we'll see you next round.